Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to K & Kale 370 Part 2, where we are working on our Made of Metal piece, creating a nice, cute, yet sexy, yet practical set of armor for Mika, our cute little maid girl, from the Made of Metal series. We're going to be continuing that, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be refining the face and refining things, getting ready for color. But during the break, I did a couple adjustments to our character here, as you can see. So I was trying to figure out more of how we could integrate more of the maid outfit, the cute short skirt maid outfit, but then also not exposing too much of her legs that it looked impractical to the point where it looked too gratuitous. I'm not a fan of that. I like it to look sexy. I like it to look cute, but also strategic, right? Very strategic. So I ended up getting to this point, which is closer. But then I got to the point where I started integrating more of these longer cloths and bringing them down just ever so slightly down to cover more of the thigh. And then where we ended up resting was right here where we got these big old pieces of metal that stick off, right? Things like this big old piece of metal that sticks off and connects us up to our breastplate. And then we have this little bit of cloth, but it has those pleats in it that still exposes just a little bit of that thigh. And here we like to say that we have found our balance. This is something that I feel like Mika would wear, and I like the mixture of cloth as well as plates on here. And now what we're ready to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we're ready to begin refining and getting ready to add in some colors. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and continue with that. All right, so where I like to go from here is once we have gotten to the point of refinement where we like what we see, we feel like it's a good balance of everything that we want to encompass in our concept, is we want to begin moving into refinement. And that is just as simple as creating new layers over top of everything. And in this case, let's go ahead and increase the size of our sketch. Increase the size of our sketch here. And let's go ahead and begin by refining one of the most important places of the character, and that is their face. So let's go ahead and get in there. I really like the general feeling of what's going on with Mika's face here, but I want to really just drive that home and figure out where the rest of her actual facial features are going to be situated. And I'm using this drawing over here as a guide because I really like the placement of her facial features there, and I want to make sure that we reflect that over here as well. And so what I'm doing is I'm just using my values to sculpt this face into place. And then what we're going to end up doing is we're going to move into sketch lifting. And that is where we take this sketch and we are able to lift it out, right? We're able to lift all the dark parts off of the canvas. And that's going to allow us to be able to create line art, or rather just really, really, really clean versions of our values that we can then begin dropping color behind. And it is going to make our lives super simple and super easy. And you are going to love the day that I teach you this. I've taught it many times before, but I'm going to show it again. Show it again because I use it so dang often. Very cool, very cool. Now for anime faces, I mean, it's really quite simple. Main things that I like to watch out for on anime faces is the subtleties of like the cheeks. Like, see how when I add extra mass to the edge of Mika's cheek, it changes her face quite a bit. So you want to make sure that you get that nice, you want to make sure that you get the exact features of the character's face and cheeks going down to like, usually they have like a pointed chin. That's what I usually default to. However, I try to avoid doing the same thing over and over again. But for Mika, I kind of wanted her to be generic. I wanted her to be a safe anime design that people could relate to. Something that people would look at and say, oh, I feel like I've seen something like that before. Not trying to reinvent the wheel. Just your regular run-of-the-mill pink-haired maid girl. That is Mika. And we love her. I hope that you guys love her. I sure love her. She's been with me for many, many years. She was one of the I say many, many years because I've been drawing the same like pink-haired anime girl, like the generic anime maid girl for so many years. I've been studying anime since I was 16 years old. And this was like the go-to like anime girl. And then one day I decided, hey, I should make like a proper series out of her, but then introduce something that's a little bit different. introduce a character that maybe we don't see a lot of. And so I decided to draw Mocha. Mocha. Why am I having such a hard time speaking today? Regardless. Yes, I made Mocha as the Black Knight, the literal Black Knight. And she is freaking cool too. I like her. Because I feel like, until I started watching Full Metal Alchemist, I feel like there's not a lot of prominent black characters in anime. Do you guys feel the same way? I wanted to make sure that there was enough diversity. I always like pushing diversity in areas that I don't see a lot of it. And one of those things was in anime. So I'm really happy to have a dark-skinned character as well. Makes me really happy to see that being represented. But regardless, let's continue with this. Yeah, so that's a nice refinement of Mika's face. I like that a lot. I like that very much. Okay, cool. So that is a good refinement of our face there. Let's go ahead and move into the hands. Let's go ahead and get these colors and values separated here, as well as here. Make sure we separate out those metal plates. I imagine this thing right here, this value is what holds this cloth on there. This is what would connect the cloth to the breastplate. Cool. Very, very cool. All right, let's go ahead and add some additional mass here. That way this breastplate actually looks like it could lay over top of Mika's body instead of smashing it and compacting it into a sardine can. That would be nice. We want it form-fitting, but we don't want it too tight. Not too tight. We want our characters to be able to breathe. That is nice. That is nice. Very, very nice. Let's go ahead and flip it. Cool. Cool. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of extra hair here. Let's kind of cut this down. This is always the funnest part for me, is like when we finally found a balance of what we wanted to create for our armor and our design on our character. Now we can just kind of simply refine things. You can kind of tune out a little bit. This is usually the point where I'm relaxing. I'm listening to music as I do this. And yeah, but you can see how even just after 30 to 45 minutes of watching me do this live from the previous episode, you can now get on here and see, oh, okay, so it takes quite a while to even get a sketch or to even get an idea of something that might work. And then refining it. Like sometimes, like if I'm feeling really crazy and feeling really brave, I'll actually redraw the entire line art. It just depends on how clean I'm wanting my sketch to be, how clean I'm wanting this actual concept to be. But because this is fairly experimental, I'm okay with just refining this sketch and kind of line sculpting this into place without it having to be super duper refined as far as line art goes. But it does show, if you do take time to refine your line art, then it definitely will show in the final product. And that is something that is very, very important and should not be underestimated by any means. Okay, so I want these pieces here to be metal. So I want to make sure that this reads as metal. So let's go ahead and get those high contrast pieces in there. Very good, very good. Another thing that I really like to do here is oftentimes I'll find little issues with, I feel like Mika's head is slightly small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this piece. And what I'll do is I'll just hit Control J, right? Because this is all flattened down. So I can just Control J that, and I can increase the size of Mika's head just a little bit. Yeah, that's closer to what her proportions should be. It's better. And you can kind of click it on, click it off to kind of compare the two. Maybe I'll move it back just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Mika's head was looking a little bit small. She's supposed to be younger, so there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, but speaking of that, make your character look younger by increasing the size of their head. It's probably the easiest thing that you can do. And there's lots of other cool little nuanced things that you can do with the proportions of your character to help them appear strong or weak or young or old. It's quite fun to do. Quite fun to do. You might be asking, why would I ever want a character to appear weak? Well, you might be drawing like an older person, or you want the damsel in distress. This is the more common one, right? The more common one, which I am trying to subvert that expectation by drawing these girls in these really cool armored sets, or these armor sets. But yeah, the damsel in distress often takes on, they're usually in like this dress, or like in the old days, it's like, it's like some skimpy little bikini uniform. It's like you want the character to not appear like a heroic, strong, armored, what you would normally expect a hero to be. However, it doesn't mean that just because a character has a weak frame that they can't be heroic. In fact, I really like to even challenge that as well. Even like characters like Widowmaker come to mind. She has a very, very sexy figure, yet she is in a place of power. She is a very powerful character, and she's awesome on her own. So just because you make a character's form like weak or strong, it doesn't mean that they have to be a hero or they have to be the person that needs to be saved. It's definitely something always worth looking into. Definitely always worth asking those questions. And I highly recommend that you always be doing that. As an artist and as just as you're on your journey, I think you should always be asking those questions. So, feeling pretty dang good about this. The next thing that I want to move into is I want to start moving into color. I really want to start moving into color because this is looking quite good. I don't want to spend too much time with refining these legs because I think these look good enough as they are. I want to focus the color in the upper parts of the character. So yeah, let's do that. Let's do it. Okay, so we're going to move into sketch lifting. So to sketch lift, it's actually quite easy. I'm going to go ahead and change this title real quick. That way, if you skip to this point, you know what we're doing. Sketch lift. So here's what we're going to do to sketch lift. You want to get everything off of your canvas except what you're going to be immediately using. Okay, so this is like extra, sketches on the side, little fragments of your sketch on the edges. Make sure you get rid of all that crap. Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going in there and you are going to be doing a little brightness contrast adjustment on this. Okay, and you are going to, more importantly, be hitting Shift, Control, Alt, and E at the same time. What that's going to do, if you see below, that just stamped my entire image. See, now I just basically have a stamp of that entire canvas. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to Image, Brightness, Contrast. I like to use Legacy on this just because of the way it behaves with the line art. You can really push out, see how you like push the whites out, but then you can contrast it and bring the darks back. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get to a nice happy medium where the darks get as dark as possible without losing the detail. See, if I push the contrast too far, I start losing the detail that I put there. Just kind of pull it to like a nice happy medium where your darks are still nice and clear, but the detail of your character still shows through. So I think right about there is where we're going to be most happiest. So from here, let's go ahead and erase that. Or rather paint that arrow away because we don't need that. And what you're trying to get to is you want your background to be straight white. It's most important that your background is straight white because what you're going to do next is direct your attention down to the bottom right, go to channels, and then you're going to click this little button that looks like a box that has gone missing, the dotted line box. What that's going to do is it's going to put marching ants all over your picture like this. And then what I'm going to ask that you do is you hit Shift Control I to invert that selection, because what you've done is you've selected all of the white pixels, I think. Yeah, by going to channels and clicking that missing box, you've selected all of the white pixels in your piece. Then hitting Shift Control I, it inverts that selection. So what you now have is you have you have a selection of just your line art. And then what I'm going to ask that you do is fill that with any color that you choose. In this case, I've picked purple. And then what you'll see is that when you fill, right, or when you fill the background, you'll see that now you have just your line art on a layer that you can darken and change to whatever color you wish, but most importantly, you can begin to drop color behind it like this. You can begin to drop color behind it. See how now it just automatically colors everything behind? Another way that you can do this, another way that is known to do this, is setting your line art to multiply. However, I don't like to do that, as you will find out in just a moment, because multiply is kind of hard to work with when it comes to line coloring, and that is going to be at the very end of this. Okay, but in any case, that's sketch lifting. Let's go ahead and move on to color. Color! Let's add some color to this. Let's pull up our references. That way we kind of get some ideas for what we want to do on this. What the heck happened? Oh, there we go. I've got to delete this. Delete this edge and delete that edge. Okay, cool. So what I'm thinking as far as color goes is I really like the basic color scheme. Whoops, what the heck happened there? I really like the basic color scheme that's happening in this piece over to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and reference a bit of that. I'm going to go ahead and start dropping those colors in here, like kind of like this deep kind of bluish. Yeah, like that. And then maybe we'll contrast it with the maroon. I'm just basically going to outright steal that color palette because I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Cool. See how easy that is? You can just start dropping in that color. Very, very easy. And don't worry, if you go out of the lines a little bit, that's okay. You can just go back in there and just erase it. Sometimes a little bit of out of the line action looks good. I find what really brings your character together, and where I like to start quite frequently, is on the skin. So I'll immediately get in there and start painting peach on the skin. Just to get that general feeling, get that color in there immediately. There we go. Let's get it on the hands. And on the legs, of course. We worked so hard to show those legs, we better not lose them. Okay, next up, let's move to the hair. Hey, we got the hair right there. Let's go ahead and just eye drop that color. That'll make things nice and easy. And paint in that hair. And you'll notice that, see how we have a little bit of that residual value kind of staying there? And what that's doing, see how it's gray, and when we drop something that is peach, or rather pink behind it, see how it begins to kind of color it? And in some cases, or a lot of cases, it's going to give you muddy colors. And just as a way of showing you exactly why we sketch lifted earlier, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this right now. This is something that you can do much easier if you sketch lift than if you just set everything to multiply. And that is this. It's going to be line coloring. Line coloring happens when you go to your line layer and you check this little checker box, right, which locks the transparent pixels. That's right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to color those lines with, let's say, a dark purple. Now watch what happens as I do this. See how that immediately begins to add life back into the lines? And it softens the hair shape. I absolutely love that. Let's go ahead and just kind of kick it up a notch just to really drive it home. See how painting that pink in there really now allows that hair to look more shiny and alive. It's a lot harder to get this effect with multiply layers, which is why I tend to stay away from it nowadays. On the skin, I like to paint it a dark red. So I might do this. Yeah, I might start with this type of thing there. Let's go ahead and paint the hands red as well as the legs in there. That's great. That's grand. We'll add a little bit more darkness to the hair in these areas, just where we need it to come through. And let's go ahead and paint in some more of this face. I'm just going to go ahead and paint over top of everything. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and add that in. Let's keep our cast shadows going, right? So a general darker color will be used at the top of the face, just to indicate that the face is being cast in shadow. And then we can kind of bring out like very vibrant, bright colors in the face like this, just to have a higher contrast. Looks really nice. And then most importantly, let's not forget about our cute blush. It's not a cute anime girl without the blush. So let's get that in there. There we go. Oh yeah, and take a look here. This is a prime example of where those muddy colors are coming into play. Let's color that line pink so that way we don't have those muddy colors in there. See that? Easy. Easy, easy, easy. Cool. And let's go ahead and color the eyes. Let's bring those eyes out. There we go. Color her eyes in. Can add some lines in there for the blush lines. Cool. Looks good. Looks very, very good. Let's go ahead and start adding in some values to the armor because we want some additional values to be coming out within the armor. And for that, I'm going to call upon the power of the maroon. Let's go ahead and make this maroon. Let's add in some maroon pieces. And because we're working so dark, we can kick this up a notch. We can make it bright and allow the colors, or rather the values, to darken it down for us. So we might be looking at something more like this. See? Isn't that easy? Isn't that super easy? Oh, here's another really fun thing that you can do. I should probably show you this. During the concept phase, I like to make separate layers if I'm going to be experimenting with color. So let's say that I wanted to play around with this maroon color. But then halfway through I said, oh, well, I'd like to see what different colors would look like for the cloth parts. So if you make it on its own layer, you can easily just hit Control U, and you can bring this back and forth, and you can choose different colors. Isn't that cool? So it could be like blue, it could be kind of this greenish. Actually, that green looks really cool. I like that one too. And it's more original, so maybe we should go green or blue. The maroon looks really nice. But yeah, I'm kind of feeling like this tealish green. That feels good. Love it. Love it. And with that, let's go ahead and paint this in just a little bit more. And just like that, we can continue adding in this color here. Here's another really good place for you to add color is, let's say that you want to brighten up these values. Go in there with like blue and see, once you start painting in these values, see now blue takes on the shadows. Blue takes on the shadows here, and it effectively lightens up the entire value of, say the cloth parts of this armor. Okay, so that's a really good place to start. You can kind of darken it down in some other areas. If it gets too out of hand, you can always kind of pull it back to where it was. Oh yeah, that looks nice. That looks very nice. I'm going to darken this down quite a bit for the dark parts of this armor, the black parts. And I kind of want to lighten up this face just a little bit more too. Maybe something more like this. Maybe something like this is in order. Or maybe it's getting too bright. We need to just darken down some of this stuff. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's more like it right there. We'll color the eyes in. That looks nice. Looks quite nice. All right, so I'm going to lighten up the rest of this here. Let's go ahead and brighten this up a little bit. That way we can see a little bit more of our detail in the armor, or in this piece. That's more like it. That's more like it. I'm going to hue shift this around just a tiny bit. Even doing little things like this can give you different feelings on your character. So see how that, it still feels good because it's shifting all the colors at the same time, so it still unifies it. So we could either go that way or we could go this way. And I'm kind of liking this more, I'm liking this color a lot more, these colors much more. Okay, so now that we have some general colors in that we like, we can begin moving towards overpainting. And with that, let's go ahead and change the title. Overpaints. We're going to overpaint this and make it look good, and then we're going to end it, ladies and gentlemen. End it. I want these sashes in the back to be this nice, cool teal color as well. That should do the trick. And then we're ready to go into overpaints, as I said before. Now, overpaints are really cool because this is the chance for you to finally go in and your word is law. So you can basically say anything, right? You get to make the final shots. You get to call the final shots and make the final touches to this character. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and start with the face here. Let's go ahead and start with the face. And let's begin by adding in some more saturated colors to the hair to really make it stand out, make it feel like it's more alive. And we can simultaneously do this and do our shiny trick. Remember, by leaving that open area, you automatically, see how we automatically create that shine? Do the same thing over here. Let's go ahead and add in a little shine there. However, I'm going to make this hair a little bit lighter because it's going into the background. So I want this to be a little bit more of an ancillary piece. It's going to bolster the rest of the drawing. However, it doesn't need to have as much detail as the hair on the other side. Okay, so we might get something more like that. Let's go ahead and add in some more saturation to this. Let's kind of get it right about there. And add in a little bit more darkness there. There we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and kick up the brightness on this highlight. So something that I like to do is hue shifting. I always tell you guys about hue shifting, but make sure that you're putting it into practice in areas like this. Like, see how I don't stay in this area? See how it's like kind of purplish, kind of a purple pink? Move it slightly more towards red as you start bringing in the highlights. We got to desaturate a little bit more. There we go. There we go. So get something more like that. That automatically will make your transitions look a lot more interesting. That's what the purpose of that is. Okay. Let's put a little bit of highlights there. There we go. Cool. So you can see already our overpaints are bringing some new life to our character, making it look really nice. Making it look very nice. I'm going to color, another thing, speaking of cast shadows, never forget the little cast shadow that happens on the other underside of the eye there. That'll add some much needed life to your face. Let's go ahead and add some color to the nose as well as the lips here. As well as just kind of refining this edge of the face. See how I added too much there? I'm kind of go back. Let's try it again. Chill out. Try it again. There we go. There we go. It's feeling good. Let's have a little bit of the neck showing here before it is overtaken by the collar. There we go. Cool. Then I want to make sure, here's the fun point where we can really start adding in these punch colors. So let's start adding in punch colors like, say, here on the scarf to really bring out these folds in the fabric. But again, don't get too crazy with it. Keep thinking in terms of design. You want to have nice areas of rest. So see how I got these big shapes that are representing our highlights? Make sure you contrast that with some nice big shadow shapes as well. So this is more what you're going for, as opposed to like lightening that up and then lightening that up and then lightening that up. See how once I add too much of it, now it just kind of all doesn't work well together. See, but once you keep it, if you keep it more design-like and having balance to it, then it will still look really nice. Still look quite nice. Okay, great. Great. I hope things are going well with your paint along. Hope you're finding some interesting things with your concepts as well. And I'm sure you're going to be posting it on the Lovely Lane, which we're going to be looking at in just a moment. Gosh, I love looking at your stuff. I love looking at everyone's artwork that they submit at the end of the show. It's one of my favorite things. And thank you for everyone who has continued to do so, and anyone who is lurking. Know that the time is now to submit your stuff. It's never too late to join the Lovely Lane. Cool. Kind of messed up that eyeball. Let me fix that really quick. That looks better. All right, let's add in some additional punch colors in these areas like the breastplate. I'm going to add in some reflections. Here's a way to make things look really reflective and shiny. So you have, like your specular, which would happen here, right? And you're like, oh, okay, that's pretty easy. I can just kind of create a line going down the character like this. But then a way to make it look even more reflective is add in the reflected light on the other side. So you might get something looking like this, like this. See how once I start adding in these reflected lights, you start getting a much more shiny piece of metal. See that? So if we compare that to that, see how we start making it look like it's glossy and awesome. Always be doing that. That's what I'm telling you guys. Do it, do it. Cool. And you can also even put reflective light on the other side. You can put it on this side too. Let's go ahead and put these nice hot highlights on there. Ooh, nice hot highlight right there will be good to separate the handle of the knife from the rest of the armor. That'll be really good. Yeah, that's looking really nice. I'm going to go ahead and erase a little bit of this. I like the way that that looked more when that value is there. I think I brightened that up way too much. Cool. All right. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're getting pretty dang close to finishing this up. Really happy with how this turned out. I think I want to add just a little bit more flesh to the underside of Mika's jaw. I think that's what's bothering me. Ah! There we go. She needed just a little bit more flesh there. Oftentimes, as I refine things, I notice that little things will change. That is completely normal for your drawing to take a different shape as you refine it. It's one of the classic challenges of being an artist. It's trying to capture the original characteristics that were in your sketches. Things always look much better in sketch form. And don't worry, that is a completely normal thing, and it happens with me as well. The trick is learning how to bring that over as much as you can to the final piece. It doesn't always need to look exactly the same as your sketch, but it should retain that same feeling. So always be asking yourself, what helps to create those feelings? These can be things like the expression of the character, the body language of the character, the position of the face, or like the eyes. I've always said that a big part of expression is in the eyes, but I also would like to add the hands. Hands are also very, very important in the expression. Even something as simple as this says so much about what the character is feeling, or like their emotion. So definitely don't underestimate the hands. Don't underestimate the eyes, and don't underestimate the hands. Never, ever do that. Okay. I'm feeling pretty dang good about this. Even this, I can see a difference in this. There's something happened with the face. And what's really cool about doing overpaints is that you can easily get back to there by just erasing. You can erase your way back to where you came from. That's another reason why I really like doing this style. So maybe like that. Maybe a mixture of the two. I don't know. I'm always so picky with my faces. I could literally sit here and like draw this face for like the next hour. But in order to save your interest and your sanity, I won't do that. Instead, what I'll do is I'll just add this nice shadow in there. And do one of these. Cool. Awesome. Now, the last thing that I might do on this is I might want to add in some more warm colors. Like I've noticed that maybe integrating a little bit more of like these kind of golds might work well with this piece. Maybe if they are present here and here, here. Maybe like in here in these areas. Maybe there's like a button that kind of connects this. That could be cool. But now it's taking on a little bit more of like a militaristic kind of feel, which I don't know if I'm into. But regardless, might be a good place that we can start. And then finally you can start adding in all of those little trim details, all the little things, again, on a separate layer. Make sure you're on a separate layer. And then start adding in those trim details. What do the tiny little trims look like on this breastplate? Does it even look good there? Does it look good with this kind of design? Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Sometimes I like to start with just things like noise, like I start with noise, and then if I like that general feeling there, then I'll start going in there and adding additional detail, which just actually looks kind of cool. I actually really like that noise being in there. So let me go ahead and kind of play that up. Let me go ahead and play that up. Let's say that we do like this and we want to build off of that. So then what I'll do is I'll go in and make sure that it's more symmetrical. So I'll be like, okay, maybe the filigree will look more like this. A really easy way to mirror something is you can just grab it like this. I oftentimes do this. Grab that, hit Control J, hit Control T to transform it, and just flip it horizontally. However, because we're in perspective, you'll just distort it a little bit. So you might get something like that. That over. Really easy way to make designs. I constantly am doing that, selecting things, transforming them. Easy, easy. And then let me show you something really cool about putting this all in one layer. You can then take this design and you can immediately light it in a very easy way. And that is by doing it like this. So let's go ahead, let's create another filigree up here as well for this chest plate. Remember, trying to pay attention closely to the shapes that we made before, or like the space that it occupied, because a common thing that you'll want to do is you'll be like, oh, filigree looks good here, let's add it here, 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 and here. And then what ends up happening is that you add it to all this area, and now it looks out of balance. It looks too crazy. Whereas before, it was just enough. It was just enough. So keep that in mind. Don't overdo your filigree. Don't overdo it. So maybe just something as simple as this would look good. Cool. And now that that's all in one layer, watch what you can do. You can lock those pixels. Oh, this is all in one layer. Heck yeah. Heck yeah, I did it right. All right, cool. So check this out. So now what you can do is you can light all of those metal embellishments in one fell swoop like this. Because they're all in one layer, just grab yourself a soft brush. And just go ahead and do one of these. Do one of these. See, look at how easy that was to light it. It's the wrong color, mind you, but that can be easily fixed by just doing this. And then let's say that we want that color as it goes into the light to be a little bit more like this color. And you can again begin playing around with different color combinations. We want it to be really bright. Let's say that we want it to be really bright in this area up here. Really, really bright. It's obviously going to be the brightest in the areas of where that, see, it's most brightest in the areas where that highlight would go through. And then also make sure that your embellishments obey the same laws of the lighting that you placed down earlier. So in that case, you'll need a little bit of reflected light over on this side. So add in a little bit of reflected light going on those edges. And then witness your filigree come to life. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that cool, guys? Absolutely love that. Saving time, saving money, saving your boss's money. And they will love you for that. So let's go ahead. I say it like I'm joking, but I'm serious. It's like, you got to save time. You got to make cool stuff as quickly as possible. As quickly as possible. Let's go ahead and add in that filigree there. Maybe a little bit there. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be ending it. Man, I feel good about how this day went. I feel good about how this tutorial went. Quite happy with this. Yeah, I'm digging that. All right, yeah, we're going to call that good, ladies and gentlemen. So that is how you would create a cool armor set, mixing together the Gothic Lolita archetype along with the medieval knight to create a all-new original piece that was taken from, we took all these ideas from Pinterest, the place where other people's ideas come to play, and then you took all those and made your own thing that you can release out to the world, and maybe somebody will copy you too. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to end today's show. Thank you so much for joining me on YouTube. Hope you had a great time today doing this paint along. I would love to see your stuff posted on the Instagram, which we're going to get to shortly. But, before we go, I do want to say that if you want to download this PSD, as well as all the other PSDs from the past, just click here. It'll take you over to Patreon where you can download it. And I would highly recommend that you go through here and dissect these layers all one by one. Take a look at all this stuff for yourself. And I have all my old sketches way back here, so you can kind of pull this stuff up and look at it too, if that's so tickles your fancy. So thank you guys so much for joining me once again. I'll leave you with some love lane. Until next time, you guys take care. See ya. Oh yeah, we got to get this NCS, this awesome no copyright sound music. Thank you to them. As always, their info will also be in the description. Go check them out. Until next time, you guys stay awesome.
There's a universe inside you, so won't you wake up now and see? Don't hide away the things you're feeling. Unlock your mind and lose the key. There's a universe inside you, you should never have to hide. I can see the stars inside you. Please just open up your eyes. There's a universe inside you. Inside you, so much more than people know. I've seen you fighting your emotion. I hope you stay and won't let go. There's a universe inside you, so much love to leave behind. Stop the path of devastation. You should live for all the highs. exploring baby steps. There's a universe inside you.